If you submit anything, any kind of script, they won't accept it. It doesn't have to necessarily be written on the final draft program, but it has to look like this. Exterior, this comes up, pub, moments later. That can either be pub or let's say day, night, in my little thing, okay? Then it comes down to action. Okay, the action's in the thing, what you're writing, what's actually happening. It's cold, even though it's only 4 PM, it's already dark. Gary exits the pub, his phone's still glued to his ear, blah blah blah. A lot of the time with the action, it's not a novel that you're writing. All you need to do is the functionality of it. Like, so it's not, it was a cold and dark and stormy night. He didn't know how he felt. You don't need to put anything like that in. Essentially what a script is, the dialogue speaks for itself. So when you actually just write down the dialogue, that's what everything does. Anything that goes into the action code, you basically just need that to go. He walked in, where we are, what's happening, what's going on. You drop down, character's name, dialogue. Again, action, character's name, continued, dialogue. What happens with Final Draft is, when you press it down, it intelligently writes the name of the character for you. So you don't have to keep going back over it. And then what it does is, when you drop it down again on the return key, it'll go to dialogue up here in the corner, and then it'll drop down again, it'll go to action. You drop it down again, it'll go to character. It intelligently writes all these kind of things for you, so you don't have to continually go back and forth. Now, what this does is, it cuts so much time off your script. Like, I mean, literally days. And what'll happen is then as well, you see anything here that's in the red, when you're making amendments to the script or any kind of new kind of things that are going in, essentially there's a part of the program that says revisions. So any kind of new dialogue that goes in or anything new that goes in comes up in the red. And you can actually leave that in to show people, if you'd like to, a producer or anything like that wants to see what kind of revisions have been made. Instead of actually just taking them out, they'll go, okay, the red parts are new, the red parts are different. This gives you templates. So you can go in and it'll have templates in it saying BBC drama, BBC half-hour comedy, 30 Rock, The Sopranos, whatever it is. It also has on it stage plays, 3 different types of kind of words that you can write in. It saves me, and it did save me a hell of a lot of time.
Would you bother with any like the freeware version of that? There's one called Cowplex.
Yeah, if it works, absolutely. If it works and it can come to some sort of like understanding of that, and if it has intelligent type. The thing is, once you put in a character's name, it will remember it. It will store it in the database of your computer. So next time when you go back, even if you want to write a series of kind of like things, you put it under, like for Sarah and Steve, obviously it was only 2 characters all the time. But if there was more than one kind of character, definitely. I think there's actually one for Max as well. I'm not too sure, but I can't remember the name of it, but I'd already bought, Final Draft like when I've done it. So any kind of freeware stuff that you can get, definitely use it. But don't try and write it just on Word, because it's just going to take loads of time. And as well as that, you won't know essentially what you're doing unless you're actually referring back continually to some of the script that you already have. I mean, that's going to take forever. Before you even get to this kind of stage of the first kind of like script, you can write a 7 or 10 page treatment, which is essentially like, see the way this is here written. You'll have reams and reams of action about what's going on and what happens in your story. You basically give a synopsis of the whole film from beginning, middle and end. You go through it, tell what's going to happen, what happens here, and then if you want to even, you can put in little samples of dialogue at certain kind of points about what it is. But ultimately what it is, it's a summary of the whole thing. Some treatments can be as small as 2 or 3 pages. You go, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this. But to be honest, a kind of good treatment, that's usually a pitch. A pitch is like 2 or 3 pages. Like, listen, it's a cop from the future, goes back in time, does this, this and this. That's it in the 3 pages. Then someone will say, okay, that's your pitch, let's go to a treatment. Treatment will be about 7 or 10 pages, which literally goes through everything, from beginning, middle and end, what's going to happen. And if you want to give samples in the middle of dialogue and stuff like that, you go. Then the next kind of point then will be to get it to first draft or something. So even you have a kind of, I'd say you kind of, the pitch is one thing about your script, but you're actually trying to write it to get to a treatment of it first. Like get about a 10, 15 page of everything that's going to happen in it and what you want to happen in it. And then you can even kind of look at it with other people and say, okay, well, where are we with the treatment? What do we need that's actually just surplus to requirements? Standard for a script, the kind of rule of thumb is that this page here from top, scene 6, down to the bottom is a minute of screen time. So you take 90 pages, roughly that's going to be 90 minutes. Now, it's not always the case, because sometimes if it's dialogue driven, but let's say you're to read a script like Reservoir Dogs or something like that, the dialogue is pumping through, like it's just all one scene. Sometimes that can actually go to like a minute and a half, or even like less, you know, that kind of way as you put it through. So roughly, if your script is any less than 90 pages, it's too short. That's pretty much kind of like standard kind of thing. I read a script for a film recently of a guy, and it was like about 56 pages, and you know, it was scenes after scenes after scenes, but there was no kind of story, no kind of like general arc over the whole kind of thing, you know. But it was too short. Like if you had a shot the thing, it would have been over in 50 minutes, you know. So you really need to get the thing to about 90 minutes. Look, the kind of thing is as well, everyone will tell you that there's a science to script writing, but the main things I could say to you is that beginning, middle and an end. That's it. You have to set up the hook, which usually happens in the first 10 pages. Then everything that's going on with the characters in the first 30 pages, the middle 30, like in the sense of the 90-minute kind of structure, is the middle of the film, and then the 90 minutes is the resolution. A well-structured script should be roughly around that. But also being sparse with it, so it's like he pulls up, he gets out, he turns the car, he goes in a, you know, continually moving. You're saying, even though you have to get through a lot of kind of story, this is only for monologue kind of stuff, but it's the same thing for scripts, right? Even though you're trying to get through a lot of kind of story, you want to get to the point as quickly as possible, as what you're doing, okay? Like they say a lot about kind of writing is killing your babies, okay? You'll write something and you'll go, that's an amazing line, I love that, it's brilliant. And everyone's like, yeah, but it doesn't take the story anywhere, it doesn't get rid of it. And like you'll have those kind of moments where you're talking about, like, there's script editors as well. When you're actually working on anything, when we were writing this, you'd write it, then we'd send it into the script editors. They'd have a look, they'd go, listen, you need to take this out, you need to take this out. And you have these kind of dialogues where people are going, no, you can't be saying that, like, this is brilliant, this is an amazing piece of writing, but ultimately, you know, you just have to kind of go, yeah, well, you can trust myself to come up with something else that's equally as good. You know, heartfelt stories, small stories, because it's Ireland, you know, you're not going to make a big, huge, massive crime drama or some sort of epic, like, retelling in 1916. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to get the money for it. You want to tell intimate stories that people identify with. And like that was one of the reasons, like, not saying it was successful, but it resonated, like Sarah and Steve resonated with people of a certain age, kind of teenagers and people all the way up to like 35, because they kind of identified things in it. They went, I know that, my friend's done that, I've made like that, you know, that kind of way and stuff. Ultimately, like I was saying as well before, you were asking about the monologue, I didn't want to do it like this. If I had actually had a choice, I would have had characters back and forth, because it's something to be if you ever want to see comedy writing in terms of character interaction, dealing between us is brilliant. Whoever writes that, like, you know, it's really, really good. Like, it's sharp, it's witty, it's fast, and it's quick, and that's, it gets to the point. You know, kind of, it's only a half-hour thing, and you think you're after sitting through an hour and the stuff. You know what I mean? So you can tell a lot, and you can have a lot of scenes in half an hour. You mightn't think it, but you can have a lot of different setups and a lot of different cutaways. You know. It's a setup, right? Mentions what the joke is, what it's about, what he's talking about. There's no word in the English language that you can't make better and more fantastic than we put the word turbo in front. It's the kind of meat of it. He talks about, like, goes to set. Here's the word, it's turbo. Goes on to say what's happening with it. Then essentially what happens is you build it up, you get the setup, you build up the joke, you pull the rug down from underneath it. See my element? No, he's turbo, we defresh my element. Sorry boys, I can't talk now, I'm writing me turbo board. So it's that kind of thing, like there's a setup, you build a joke up, then you pull the rug out, and then at the end, if you want to have a little kind of rejoinder at the end, it's like, turbo pregnant as well, you know what I mean? Some people think, like, you know, oh, you just write that. There is, especially when you're writing scripts, especially when you're writing comedy, there's a lot of kind of things that, you know, there's kind of things that you just have to figure out instinctually, you know what I mean? Like, I've never actually read any books on screenwriting, but kind of a lot of these things you just kind of get, like, after a while. It's also like the rule of three, you know what I mean? If someone says something 3 times, it's funny for some reason. If you just say it 4 times, it's not, you know? It's like, when he's, it's kind of true. It's when he's watching that new thing, Phone Shop. It's on Channel 4, and the man goes, she had an owl on her back, and the man's like, an owl? And he's like, yeah, man, an owl? Just an owl. And he waits a minute. An owl, you know what I mean? It's the 3rd time, it's instantly funny. It's kind of like setting things up anyway. Like you mention it later on, you do the setup, you build up the joke, and then you pull the rug from underneath. I'll be kind of having fights with the script editors because they were saying to me, like, because script editors are always kind of cut it there, get rid of it there. That's funny, that's the joke. And I'll be going, no, it's not the joke. The joke is turbo pregnant, not. You know, we may have this theory of turbo. That's hilarious. That's not the gag. You know what kind of about it? So we continually having these kind of fights with people, kind of going, you know. So in those kind of elements, I'd step up and go, no, actually, you're on. Like, you need to get this in because this is the joke. This is the funny part. There's also a thing as well. Write about what you know. And I mean, like, I know that's a really kind of cliche kind of thing to say, but it really is a kind of thing. Write about what you know.